Hey everyone, hope you're doing well during this time. Today I'm going to be doing two reviews combined into one of Disney Plus's new series, The Mandalorian. I say new, it came out in America like October or November last year, so if you're in the US, you've most likely seen this and you're probably thinking that this review is way too late, but if you live in the UK and you've just seen it for the first time, or you live elsewhere in the world and you've already seen it, and you just want to hear a new set of thoughts, well, that's what today's video is about. During this whole lockdown, I've got a lot of thoughts about The Mandalorian and I just wanted to share them with you, especially seeing as we're taking inspiration from Star Wars a lot for our film The Dark Following 2. Now, I don't want to get too much into Star Wars itself as the film franchise because I've got a lot of thoughts about the sequel trilogy, but The Mandalorian, overall, I thought it was great and I want to share my thoughts with you about how I feel about it because I think there's a lot everyone can learn from a filmmaking perspective about it, and just generally it's just a great show to enjoy. I've never done a proper review like this before, so this is the first time. Let me know what you think about the format of it, if you enjoy it, if you think there's anything that needs to change, let me know. Otherwise, let's get right into it. I am going to be delving into spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, this maybe isn't for you, but if you got this far, I just want to let you know that it is worth a watch, and I do recommend you going and watching it. First two episodes, actually no, the first 3 episodes are on Disney Plus already, and then come back and watch this video. So we are reviewing the first 2 episodes, kind of combined into one because they make their own kind of wholesome story, just the 2 episodes together, and that's how they were released. So let's get into it. So the first thing that cements anything as being worth to watch is the narrative, and the narrative is very concise, very precise in The Mandalorian. It's very natural and it asks questions, constantly moving and progressing the plot whilst also leaving enough questions that there's enough mystery to make you wondering what is going on and what's going to happen. Especially in the universe of Star Wars, where obviously everyone knows a lot about the universe already going into it. How do you create mysteries in a universe where everyone knows so much about what's going on already? It takes a lot of characters and familiarities that we know with the Star Wars universe and introduces them in ways that lets us know if you're into Star Wars, you can kind of relate to it and see where it's going, but there's still enough mystery there that you're not going to see everything coming from a mile off. I thought it was particularly interesting that they engaged with the Stormtroopers. I believe this is set post episode 6, and it was interesting to see the Stormtroopers in a way that they are at a loss. They've been defeated, they're in hiding, and in terms of the live action cinematic universe of Star Wars, we never saw that at all. We got Rogue One, which was between episode 3 and 4, but very close to episode 4, and even Jedi Fallen Order, which was between episode 3 and 4, the video game that came out last year. That kind of delved into that territory, but we never saw what happened between episode 6 and 7, what happened to the Empire. I imagine that the series will develop and explore that story more, but even just introducing us to it in this first episode I thought was very interesting, and I'm already asking questions, and it was fascinating to see these characters. Again, I'm trying not to get into too much of the sequel trilogy here, but I feel like there was more done to round off the characters of Stormtroopers and how they are actual real people trying to survive in this world than even Finn's character did in all of the entire sequel trilogy, which again, not going to delve too much into that. I just liked how they touched on it, and you see them battered and bruised, their armor covered in blood and dirt. You know that they've been struggling for a while, and I'm just so interested to know what happens with this story going forwards. They set that up really, really well. Our protagonist, Mando, the Mandalorian, however you want to call him, is set up incredibly well. There's lots of small bits of information here and there that allude to his past without necessarily going too far into it. Characters who he's meeting for the first time maybe, or hasn't met them many times at all, refer to him as a man of your skill, which implies that he is obviously a very skilled character, and we look forward to seeing that in action later on. As I mentioned, of the period of disarray, which again is just interesting world building and just referring here and there to the galaxy outside of our very small story that's essentially being told. We follow Mando and pretty much witness the entire story thus far through his perspective. Star Wars is more often than not flitting between characters here, characters there, jumping on different missions here, there and everywhere. So I enjoyed just following our one main character to this very small story, and the fact that they even dedicated a whole second episode to just him trying to get back to his ship and get off the planet I thought was great. In any other medium, even the films, that would have just been completely glossed over, turned into a 5-minute segment and moved on with. But the fact we've got this longer form to explore these smaller stories and give character development to our protagonist in this time is a great move. When we meet the older character on Tatooine, even he seems to understand the Mandalorian's role in the universe, one which we as the audience still don't understand. When the Mandalorian is looking at riding the mount, there's allusions to his past and how his race, or apologies if I'm not completely up to date with the lore of Star Wars, because I'm mainly, obviously I know about Jango Fett and Boba Fett, obviously the two key characters who most people would know and see as familiar to the Mandalorian's character, but outside of that, it's interesting to have such a kind of elusive way to referring to the Mandalorian's backstory and where they come from. But the fact that this older character knows about the Mandalorian and again alludes to how powerful he is, how respected almost that their race was really cool. But then really established in having Mando as our main character, despite him being set up as kind of a ruthless character, pretty heartless in a way. He's pretty cold, just trying to do his mission and get on with it. Then turning around at the end of the first episode and saving Baby Yoda, who just 10 out of 10 for Baby Yoda. The internet was right. It was worth the hype with Baby Yoda. He's so good. And we know just by that one key action of him destroying the bounty robot that we know that we can trust this character, and that despite him being part of the guild and everything aligning with his code and the morals of the guild, in this one moment where he's faced with the death of this child, essentially, he makes that conscious and active decision to save the child. And that immediately is a very empathetic move, which a lot of us can relate to and would have wanted him to do. So setting him up as a character that a lot of us could relate to despite his very cold opening. Mando also loses a lot, which I really appreciated them doing. Star Wars lately has had a knack of just pushing out protagonists that win every single time, have no sort of struggles, and just kind of are fine. They come out of every situation without a scratch really and move on to the next situation, almost forgetting the last one happened. Mando gets his ass whooped in the first couple of episodes. Yeah, he takes out the guys in the bar at the beginning, but that was very much a premeditated attack, probably on his familiar sort of turf in a bar. He was in control of his surroundings, but as soon as he gets outside of that, he very much and very quickly loses control. In the first fight with the bounty robot, he's outnumbered. Without the robot, he would have lost. Again, when the Jawas take all of his ship and load it into their carrier, we expect him almost to climb up, get to the top, overpower the Jawas, take his stuff and go. But he gets zapped when he gets right to the top. Just when he reaches his peak as a protagonist, we expect him to win. He gets knocked back down to the bottom. And I like that. It's relatable. He's not this superhero. He's not this super-powered character. He could very easily be defeated. His armor gets ripped off when he's fighting the Rhino. He pretty much is gonna die until Baby Yoda saves him with the Force. So as a character, I just really enjoy. It's like a breath of fresh air to have a character in Star Wars that's not just bashing through everyone and obliterating everything in their path with ease. It's nice to see that failure there, because I know, and I can sense, that he's going to become stronger and learn as he goes on. This is what's great about especially the fight with the bounty robot. You see that Mando is intelligent. He knows that he can't win the fight on his own, so he incorporates the help of the robot, gets him on his side, and basically gets him to help him complete his own mission before double-crossing him at the end. So he might not have, despite being explained and described as being very powerful and skillful, which I think they're setting up as he's not all that he maybe seems he is, but in terms of intelligence and using his situation to his advantage, he's very clever in that way, and that's what's interesting about him, is he finds a way to win, not just through brute force, but by being intelligent and overpowering the enemy through the power of planning. And that's a really great skill to have in your protagonist, something that people can relate to. You know, if you're not the strongest person in the room, in a lot of cases it's kind of seen as, well, you're not going to be the winner. But he uses his skills in different ways, and that was great. I'm coming back to this bounty fight in the first episode, but I love that Jon Favreau and the team who produced this series remembered that Star Wars was a space western. The whole first 2 episodes could literally be ripped out of, literally replace the lasers with revolvers, and you've got a Western. It's so good. The whole desert setting on Tatooine, he's got his one ship, and he's got everything he needs on that. He's got his very specific weapons. The whole setting and the way the fights happen is just very Western. I just love it. I love that they've committed to that style of it. Visually, it looks stunning from a cinematography perspective. The camera angles, the lighting, the movement of the camera is just beautiful. The color grading is spot on, and the use of the Unreal Engine 4 technology, which I accidentally watched before I even watched the show, so I kind of got a few things spoiled. So if you haven't seen the show yet, don't watch that video because it will spoil some stuff. But afterwards, I'd highly recommend watching how they made the visual effects of the show, because it's incredible how they've done it, and is really going to change how TV shows are made in the future, I'm sure. I'll go into maybe into more detail in another video, but for now, just seeing it actually implemented so flawlessly was incredible. The show does really well in delivering Mando's character with emotion, despite the fact that he has a helmet on the entire time. Usually having a helmet on is a complete no-no, especially for your protagonist, because you're losing any sort of emotion that can be conveyed from your actor. Hence why Rian Johnson took the mask off Kylo in The Last Jedi, because he wanted to see more of Adam Driver. Completely understandable, but the mask was such an important part of his character that in losing that, we kind of lost a way of his character. I like how they've committed to keeping the helmet on at all times for Mando's character. We don't know what he looks like. We don't even have a suggestion as to how he looks, and therefore how he might be reacting. And because we never see his facial expressions reacting to anything, we can't even predict exactly how he would be reacting to situations, which is great because it leaves a lot up to the audience to derive how they imagine he is reacting. And there's very subtle and very specific use of camera angles, movements, and the accompanying score, which we'll get into in a second, which is incredible. It's all done very subtly and very specifically and precisely to just give you an idea of how Mando is feeling in a certain moment. The slight tilt of his helmet, the look down, the push in of a camera angle, swelling of the score. It's all done very well to let you know that despite the fact we can't see his face, we know how he's feeling. We know how we as an audience should be reacting and responding to Mando's actions and emotional reactions in the scene. As I just mentioned, the music, I want to just touch on that. Spot on, I think. It's just enough different from the traditional over-the-top Star Wars bombastic sound that we're very much used to, but not too far away that it doesn't make any sense and it's way too different. You've got the orchestral sounds in there that we're all very much accustomed to in Star Wars, but the use of the kind of lo-fi, synthwave, pulsing sounds and synths, and very stripped back, is very cool, and just kind of highlights the fact that our character is on his own. It allows the scenes to breathe and show you what's happening, as opposed to telling you what's happening with the music. It's not, in the last few Star Wars films, they've been like, ba 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 ba, in your face. Listen to this music. It's so great. Everything's so big. Look how amazing this is. Our characters are so good. Ah. It's a lot, but in this, it's very subtle. And yes, the character is in the middle of a big fight with the rhino creature in the second episode, but the music is still kind of just underlying as a tone to let you know how you kind of should be feeling, but doesn't force you to feel a certain way. You can never tell which way the direction of the scene is going. It's not like, obviously, da 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 da, oh, he's gonna win, or da da da, oh no, he's losing. It's very much in the middle, and I really appreciate the approach that they've taken with the music to let the storytelling itself just shine on screen and stop telling you how you should feel through the music. I think that's a really great use of audio in a TV show. Wrapping up now, the story itself is really fascinating. I'm so interested to see where it goes. Episode 3 just came out now before I started making this video in the UK, so I'm going to go and watch that tonight and hopefully get a video up on that in the next few days. I just think The Mandalorian is a great asset to the Star Wars universe, especially after a kind of mixed bag over the last few years with the films. It's great to have something refreshing and that feels like it's been done for the pure love and craft of filmmaking first, Star Wars second. Star Wars is complementing a great story that they are beginning to tell. They haven't built it around being Star Wars and then crammed a story in there just to kind of tick all the boxes. So great job to everyone who works on this. I thought it was great. I'm going to take a lot of inspiration for this on many angles, the filmmaking side, the audio side. We're making my own film with Ryan later this year. More updates on that will come soon because obviously everything's a bit up in the air at the moment, but that's it from me. If you've got this far, hopefully I haven't spoiled anything for you if you haven't seen the show already, but go and watch it. It's really great. I would highly recommend. That's it. I'm not going to give it a score out of 10 or anything. I kind of think those are slightly unfair. All I would say is go and watch it. It's worth your time. The episodes aren't crazy long, bloated out. Second episode was under half an hour, which is pretty interesting for a massive show like this. So worth your time, absolutely. Mandalorian, go watch it, and I'll be back with another review on the Mandalorian episode 3, kind of delving a bit more into the plot next time. This was more of an overview of the series as a whole. I'm feeling a bit better, in case you're interested in how I'm doing. I'm still a bit breathless, as you can kind of tell, but generally I'm up and about a bit more, which is the main thing. Hope you're all keeping well during this time. Stay indoors, stay safe, just look out for one another. That's it from me. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, I'll try and do some more reviews about other TV shows, films, or games. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and give this video a like. That really does help me out with helping build our audience. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.